The SBDC is located throughout the United States and South Carolina. In South Carolina, we've got 20 offices with business consultants who work with entrepreneurs and business owners. We work with entrepreneurs who have an idea and would like to start a business. We can walk that person through the process of starting their business. We also work with existing business owners on issues they may be facing. Things like financing, cash flow, human resources, or things like this, accounting, taxes, whatever it might be. Our business consultants typically have decades of business experience or may have been a business owner themselves. We also have specialized consulting in the areas of government contracting, exporting, and technology commercialization. The SBDC provides no-cost consultations to our clients, plus training events like this one, which are low cost or no cost. And we connect business owners with resources throughout the community. So if you need assistance with your business or you're thinking about starting a business, please call your local SBDC office and make an appointment. All consultants are working remotely, so your consultation will be a phone or Zoom consultation. Today, we are fortunate we have Alan Thompson with us. Alan is the Chief Executive Officer of Stingray Branding and Net Galaxy Studios. Alan's got decades of experience in the marketing industry, and he works quite a bit with small businesses. So I'm pleased to introduce Alan, and Alan, I'll let you take over the presentation.
And just once again, before Alan starts, if you have not yet done so, please enter your full name in the chat box so we can confirm your attendance. Thank you very much. And Alan, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much. Welcome, everyone. Hopefully, everybody's got the hatches battened down and ready for the fun events here in Charleston, and hopefully a great presentation today. So I'm really looking forward to getting to have a presentation about SEO and marketing. It's SEO is something I'm pretty passionate about. It's whenever it works right for your company, it can have tremendous impact. And whenever it's not working right, it can be frustrating, right? So unfortunately, there isn't a bunch of college classes on SEO. It's not something that you can just, go take even some seminars like this and really get really good at it. It's something that takes time and practice and hundreds of hours of continuously paying attention to the results of what you do and then optimizing those results to continuously progress your marketing and specifically the SEO on your website. So I'm going to dive into some cool topics today. It's meant to give everybody kind of an understanding of the differences, the different aspects of SEO, different things that you hear about whenever you're probably talking to marketing professionals or out at networking events. And then I look forward to hopefully answering some questions. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into the presentation. All right, hopefully we can see my screen. So again, my name is Alan Thompson. I've been in the marketing business now for a little over 10 years. I've owned Stingray Branding and recently bought Net Galaxy Studios. I'm a Charleston native, and we actually represent dozens of businesses here in the Charleston area on a monthly basis handling their SEO. And we've worked with over 500 brands in establishing logos, websites, mobile apps, and all of those things. So we have multiple websites that rank on front page of Google. We manage multiple SEO campaigns, Google ad campaigns. So we're really immersed in this topic. It's something that we have to work on every day. It's something that I'm continuously having to review and update my staff with, and manage the results of our clients, and have continual discussions about what's impacting SEO and how to get better results. And so looking at, I'm going to go ahead and cut off my video and focus on the presentation here. So we'll dive into some topics. So what must we evaluate whenever we're looking at SEO and trying to take kind of a high level understanding of SEO at this point? First of all, there's a difference between Google Ads and organic SEO. And that's a conversation that I have to have regularly with clients that are new to marketing and new to being on Google. Right? Google doesn't make it super easy to understand the difference between what's an ad, what's Google local, and what's Google organic and mobile, and all these different algorithms. And that's kind of on purpose, because they don't want people to really understand all that stuff, because it would make their ad clients less effective if you knew the difference between everything that was happening. Second is the factors that influence your SEO. So there's over 200 that actually go into influencing your SEO. We're going to cover a couple of them. How content can help your SEO and why it's necessary. I'm sure that through COVID, you probably heard a lot about content. You saw a lot of people creating seminars and webinars and videos, and it's just, we've been in a content spiral for the last year, and it's because it works. Content's an incredibly important factor in your marketing strategy and ultimately in your SEO. So we're going to cover some of the things that impact your content and what you should be thinking about, and then how to incorporate SEO into your marketing plan, especially as we come out of the COVID-19 pandemic and restore some of our marketing budgets and start trying to go after clientele again. All right, so let's jump in first with the difference between Google Ads and organic SEO. This is this layout, so I want you to divert your attention to the picture that's on the slide first, and I'm going to break this down. The content's there for you to read separately if you want, but I'm actually going to dive into this for you. So looking at a Google search, there's two things that aren't showing here that sometimes show and sometimes don't, that I'm also going to cover. So whenever you put in a search into Google, you're going to have ads almost always at the top. And there's actually two different types of ads that sometimes will show here. So this is your typical Google ad. There's also Google local ads, which are also known as Google Guarantee. They'll often show up as like square boxes, like there's usually 3 of them, and sometimes you can scroll through them. And it's another type of ad where Google has verified the company. So that very top section where the red box is, right, those are ads, and really the only thing that's really determining that it's an ad versus what's not an ad is just the little thing next to it that says ad. Rather small, just a small little amount of bold font, and they do that on purpose because they want you to click on those. Google gets paid if those are clicked on. Below that first line, the next 3 lines down, that's organic SEO. So that's your list of websites that are showing up based on what you put into the search. Those websites have been optimized to hopefully be a best match to what you're searching for. And of course, we know that's not always the case, which is why Google continuously works on their algorithm and continuously changes how they're indexing sites, because their ultimate goal is to show you what you're looking for in that first link that you click on. They don't want you to have to go to a second, a third, and a fourth listing and all the way to page 2 or 3. They want you to see exactly what you're looking for the very first time you click on it. So, well, SEO seems like this big daunting thing. It's just a big pain in the butt for business owners and a big pain in the butt for marketers, you know, and it's super challenging. There's a legitimate purpose behind it, and it's because Google's job is to make search as convenient as possible for their users, and that algorithm is what makes that happen. So just like we work on our businesses, you know, on our products and services every day to improve our businesses, they're doing the same thing with theirs. Theirs just happens to be search. Let's go over some stats, because everybody kind of likes stats, right? We like to know what's going on. Stats help put things in perspective. I love stats whenever it comes to marketing because it puts reality to what you're talking about. It's not just guess, and ideas. It's actual stats and facts. So 93% of online experiences start with a search. It's remarkable to me still how many conversations I have with business owners that it's like a revelation happens whenever I tell this to them. We have people that call in all the time that find us, they do a search for Thompson marketing company or whatever, and they find us and they call us, and we start talking about Google and their marketing plan, and we get into the Google ads and SEO discussion, and they go, well, I don't know if I can afford that, and I don't know how that's going to happen or how it would help my business. And I go, well, let me ask you this: how did you find me? And of course, they, hey, I searched Charleston Marketing Company or SEO or whatever, and I found you and I called you. Well, your customers do the exact same thing, right? We all do. We do it for everything. You do it if you want to find the closest Lowe's to you to go pick up the lumber. You do it if you want to find a restaurant, a Mexican restaurant or Asian or pizza. If you're trying to figure out whenever your favorite band or artist is going on tour, everybody goes to Google and searches for these things. It's either that or you're going on Facebook and asking for recommendations. And even then, you're more than likely taking the recommendations that people put in your Facebook post and searching for those companies to see what their reviews are like. So being able to ensure that you're on page one of search, and particularly in those top couple of spots, is incredibly important. It can make or break your business. We're a testament to it ourselves. Over 78,000 Google searches happen per second. 78,000. Now, of course, that's a global number, but that's a lot. That's a whole lot. Making sure that you're able to be found whenever those couple of searches per minute or hour happen for your industry can have significant financial impacts in your business and your growth. Optimizing your user experience to ensure viewers want to stay on your site is key, right? So third bullet down on the left-hand side, that's a really important factor because, again, Google's job is to show the most relevant website to what that person searched for. And your site could have been that site, but if your site's not built correctly to convey that to that person, or it's frustrating, it loads slowly, they don't see what they're looking to see quickly, they just leave. And what that tells Google is that your site was not relevant to what that person was searching for. So that person could have been searching for exactly what you do, but because your site's not built to capture their attention and give them what they want to keep them on that site for however long it takes to convert them into a lead, they left, and Google now thinks that your site is irrelevant to that search. That happens over and over and over again, it's going to be nearly impossible for you to consistently rank in the top couple listings of Google. Content has to be relevant. So that last bullet, left-hand side, this kind of goes a little bit back into what I was saying, right? There's a lot of factors that go into building a website and making sure that you have good SEO. Content is a massive part of it. And content can mean web copy and video, as well as your ebooks and downloadables and that kind of stuff. Your content is what people are going to read, right? And while, sure, we don't read a lot, we're not reading the paragraphs, we're reading the bullet points, right? We're skim reading the page. If you haven't set up those headings and your large print, your video, to be relevant to that top thing that you're trying to go after ranking for, they're just going to leave. And again, that counts as a bounce, right? So people engaging with your website and leaving without taking any action or scrolling for more than a matter of seconds will count as a bounce, and that's what affects your bounce rate. It's the percentage of people that are visiting your website and leaving without doing anything as a secondary action or spending enough time on the site. And of course, if they're bouncing within a few seconds, their time on the page will also be very low. Those are really two good indicators to tell you if your website is relevant to what people are searching for. Because if your bounce rate is high and your time on page is very low, then what that should tell you is that you're not, the things that people are searching for and that Google is showing your website for isn't highly relevant to to the two, right? There's not a connection there. So moving on to our second column here, 67% of clicks go to the first 5 sites. That's almost 3/4. Almost 3/4 of all the website traffic on the internet from searching online goes to the first 5 websites. There's more than 5 websites on page 1 of Google. So just being page 1 of Google doesn't even mean you're going to have that significant jump in business. You are looking to be in those top 5, ideally those top 3. Most decisions come from the top 3 listings on Google. And SEO is what determines where you rank. SEO determines if you're in the top 5, the top 3, number 1. And it is your salesperson, right? In the past, as businesses, we've always thought of hiring salespeople. Let's go get a bunch of door knockers and let's get people to do cold calls and things of that nature. In today's world, it's rank on front page of Google in those top 3 spots. And unless your industry is something that is a disruptor and it's brand new, that you have to create education and awareness that you even exist, you're going to see an increase in sales and success, especially if your site is set up to handle it. Over 50% of searches are currently on mobile devices. I'm sure that's not too hard to fathom, right? It's pretty straightforward because we spend like all day on our phones. Let's be honest. Whenever you're standing in line at Starbucks, whenever you're at the red light, hopefully not at the red light, but I know we all, lots of us do it. Whenever you're bored, sitting around, we're all on our phone. And whenever you're thinking of that job for the weekend you need to get done, that honey-do list or home project, looking for that place to go eat, pull your phone out, do the search, and bam, that's where you go. And the ironic thing is how many websites are not mobile friendly. If your website's not mobile friendly, you're not going to show in the mobile search results, because why would Google show a website that is an inconvenient an inconvenient site or something that's going to frustrate their users in their search results, right? They're not going to, because their job again is to make the search experience the most enjoyable thing possible, which ultimately is just showing the right result at position 1 the first time. 72% of searches of local services visit a location within 5 miles. This is huge for local businesses, and I'm assuming that most of us probably are local small businesses, right? We love to work within the community we're in. That stat right there means everything to you. 72% of searches make a decision to go to a business within 5 miles. Google My Business listing is free. If you want it to look really nice and be really optimized, most marketing companies will offer a slight fee to go in and optimize it and dress it up and stuff for you. That's also known as Google Maps, right? Google My Business listings, Google Maps, same thing. We all do that as well, right? We either go on Apple Maps or Google Maps, search for restaurants near me, coffee shop near me, gas stations near me. If your listing is not showing up and you're not spending time optimizing that listing to drive it to the top, you're missing out on potentially 72% of the business in your industry. That's a lot of money. It's a lot of customers. I get a lot of questions about blogs, right? Do I need a blog? How do a blog help my company? Would a blog help my company? The answer for almost all industries is yes. Blogs, video, vlog, the combination of the 3, they're going to help your business. And maybe not because you have this super exciting thing that everybody's searching about. Maybe it's you have a standard brick and mortar, mom and pop kind of shop. What you do is straightforward. But websites that have blogs produce 55% more visitors than websites that don't. And that traffic is a major factor in how you rank on Google. So having a blog, you can be blogging about topics related to your industry that people are searching for, right? Maybe if you have a construction company, you could be having blogs about how to make good French drains, or how to service your windows, or how to do home maintenance, things like that Sure, is it going to lead to a direct client every time that somebody clicks on the article? Probably not. But if they're on your site for 2 or 3 minutes reading that article, it's generating good traffic and Google sees your site as relevant. So there's lots of good benefits to having blogs and making sure that you have a plan and that you're doing them very consistently. That's the key, right? Don't get into the idea of starting a blog, do it for a couple of months, stop, and then you have this you know, the latest news section on your website and the latest news article is like 3 years old. That doesn't help. It actually, you know, kind of looks bad. So if you decide to do a blog, make sure you stay consistent and have a plan. So moving on to the third column there, what goes into SEO, right? That's a question I get asked daily. You know, how do I know what's contributing to my factors? What can I do to make me rank better? Well, there's 200 factors, actually more than that now. But there's over 200 different factors that go into Google's algorithm that determines ultimately where you rank in those search results. It's a lot. It's a lot of things you have to focus on. Thankfully, it's a weighted algorithm. Not every factor carries the same weight as the others, and there's a few that really impact things, right? We've already hit a couple of them. Content and how relevant it is a massive part of that algorithm. How much traffic you're getting to your website is a very large portion of that equation. How long your website has been in existence is a large factor in that equation. Does your website URL, right, the domain name, that the www dot whatever, does that match to your search terms? That makes a big difference. So there's a number of factors that go into that. Those are a couple of the top 3. And then link building is another big one. And this is something we've heard about a lot. Unfortunately, a couple of years ago, there's been a lot of companies that have gone around and like sold link development. And what they do is they take your website link and they create millions of profiles on millions of different websites to create, you know, lots and lots of backlinks. And Google picked up on that pretty quickly and shut that down, and actually hurts your website ranking. So what we mean by link building is looking for good quality authoritative websites. We're looking for you to be able to be, maybe you write a guest blog for Thumbtack or UpCity or the SBDC or the American Marketing Association. Lots of blogs from different authors. You can write a guest blog and have that link back to your website. Maybe you have an article on Live 5 News or the Post and Courier or City Paper, and having them have a backlink, which is just basically taking a couple words of that text, hopefully it's your business or what you do, and then making a hyperlink that points back to your website out of those words. So having this established is a really important thing, especially if you're in a high publicity business, you know, where you're getting lots of awards, you're getting lots of nominations. If you can simply ask those sites that are writing the articles about, you know, the 2020 best of, or, you know, whatever those may be, just ask them to add a backlink. Hey, would you mind, you know, hyperlinking my name back to my website? It's as simple as that, and that a couple of minutes to do that can have a really big impact on your SEO ranking. Almost 60% of the top sites are more than 3 years old, right? And I mentioned that just a couple minutes ago. Time is a big part of that factor, and that's unfortunately, you know, in small business, we want things to move quickly. We want them to happen fast. We think Facebook and social media, and, you know, I want results now, and SEO just doesn't work like that. Especially depending on how competitive your industry is. You know, if you're in an industry that only has a couple of businesses here in Charleston, chances are it's not going to take you 3 years to reach page 1. It might not even take you more than a couple months. But if you're in a super competitive industry, you know, HVAC, construction, plumbing, real estate, things like that, it's going to take some time. It's just not as simple as flip a switch and you're on page 1. You know, I think that's one of the downfalls to the way that marketing has progressed is because of how competitive things are with how many websites are in existence. People have this belief that, you know, hey, I built a website and, you know, this company helped me out and they got this done for me, and I'm gonna, you know, my phone's gonna start ringing off the hook. It's live. I'm ready to go, and it just doesn't happen that way. It can take months, if not more, to get a website ranked on the page 1 of Google. Another thing, going back to content, right? And I've mentioned content multiple times. I've got a whole slide on it coming up here in a second because it is that important. If you see this right-hand side at the bottom, page 1 ranked websites average 1,900 total words. Now, that includes things like alt text and your page titles and descriptions and stuff like that. But overall, a page 1 ranked website has up to 1,900 words on it or more, depending on how competitive the industry is. It's a lot. We have a lot of websites that come to us that have 200, 100, none. It's not going to work unless you're driving an insane amount of traffic to that website. And maybe you have some really good structure on the back end. I mean, there's some ways to kind of work around it. But ultimately, for most people, most businesses that are out there that don't have, you know, an alternative plan that's going to drive that traffic and things to make sure their site's performing well, you need to make sure that you are telling the story on your homepage and that you've got enough content on there for Google to evaluate who you are, what you do, and how relevant you are to people's searches. So content, right? I've talked about it a bunch. I'm going to go over a little bit more to keep kind of breaking this down for you because it's that important. As a matter of fact, the American Marketing Association here in Charleston, I just got done being one of the keynote speakers for that last week. The entire day was on content, and it was a conference to marketing professionals held by the Marketing Association. Like, it's that important. And content comes in a variety of forms, right? So specifically talking about SEO, you've got video that helps capture people's attention. It'll keep them on the page, keep them viewing and engaging with your brand. You've got downloadable ebooks, you've got blogs, you've got newsletters and guides, lots of different things you can use that count as content. And ultimately, you have the website copy, right? The actual words on your website that tell visitors what your site's about, you know, who you are and how to buy from you. Making sure that that is, you know, well written, that you've thought through your keywords, that it's not loaded full of keywords. You know, you shouldn't, if your business is plumbing, you should not say plumbing every 5 words. It should sound like a conversation. And that's how our staff, that's one of the specialties that we have, is how we write our copy. It's like telling a story, right? It's like a conversation because that's how people read things. And Google is really, really smart, right? I think we can all agree on that factor. They know what they're doing. They know their business pretty well. And they know if you are doing what's called keyword stuffing, or if you're trying to write good quality content. What they want is for people to be entertained and to find what they're looking for when they come to your website. So they're the spider monkeys, AI, algorithms, whatever you want to call it, they know how you write your content. They know how many times you use that keyword over the course of the page. They know how relevant it is. They know if you're stuffing it. They know if you're writing that content for a person or if you're trying to just go after an SEO goal. And they know how to punish you or how to rank you for it. So make sure, you know, take a moment. If you wrote your copy yourself, it's always worth at least sending it over maybe to a marketing company or a professional copywriter that understands SEO, to have them do an audit on it to make sure that it's good to go, because it is one of the top factors in how your website will rank. Going back to blogs, right? So websites that blog average 434% more indexable pages for Google to establish rankings. So what that means is, on average, websites that have a consistent blog, you know, for a matter of time, have 434% more pages for Google to establish who they are, what they're about, and what's relevant to the people searching for them. That's a lot. The more that Google is able to dial in who you are and who your market is, and when to show your site, when to not show your site, the higher you're going to rank, because they are able to identify who you are better. Quality content can increase traffic by up to 2,000% and retain users. That is a lot. That is why it is really important that if you're going to spend money somewhere in your marketing, if you are not, if you didn't get those A's in English, you don't have that creative flow, where words just kind of come to you easy and you're able to write a lot and it's an easy process for you and it's refined, it is worth making sure that you hire somebody or engage somebody's assistance with making sure that your content is high quality. Because at the end of the day, that content is what keeps them on your website, keeps them paying attention to you, and keeps them focused on who you are and how to buy from you. If your content is a matter of a couple sentences, some thin paragraphs, or just, hey, my name is Bobby, and, I run, AAA plumbing, give us a call. We'll, we have the best customer service in town. We'll take care of you. If that's your content, don't expect lots of calls unless you're spending a whole bunch of money on ads. And even then, don't expect a whole lot of calls, right? Content tells your story, tells your customers everything they need to know about you. And if if your marketing and your site and your content look like it's not thorough and thought through and like you care, that's what you're communicating to your customers as well through your marketing, and that's what you're telling Google, which is why your site is not ranking high on SEO, because they're saying, okay, well, we don't know what this guy's really about. We're not going to show him. And then the retaining users part is, again, if it's good quality content, they're going to be reading that content, and that's going to keep them on your page longer, right? Maybe they're staying on your page 1.5 to 2 minutes instead of 5 seconds because they have more things to read, right? So that's why that stuff's important. I've kind of mentioned this a couple times, but I'm going to say it again because I think whenever you understand it, it really makes sense, right? So people look at SEO, and for the longest time, and still today, a lot of marketing people want to try to make it seem like SEO is this major daunting black hole in the universe that only we can know, only we can figure out, and without decades of experience, you're never going to succeed. It's really not that hard. Google's a business. Their ultimate job is to show the perfect website for the search that the person made in the #1 spot, so that person only has to go to one website to make a decision. That's it. They don't want people having to click to #2, #3, #4, #5. They want that person to get the answer they wanted on the first click and be able to move on. So your job in marketing, whether you're a marketing director or a business owner, whether you come to us and utilize us or you hire another marketing company, our job is to make your site fit that metric. And unfortunately, it's not a one-time thing. So this is why SEO, you hear about, SEO is defined as search engine optimization. Optimization is a continual process. It is not a one-time thing. You have to continually revise, update, and maintain your website to be achieving and maintain that top spot, because Google is going to change what goes into that algorithm to try to get their business better at hitting that objective. You have to make sure that your stuff stays up to date with the changes that they make on a daily and monthly and quarterly basis, or you're not going to keep that top spot. I'm going to briefly touch on the COVID-19 thing. I know a lot of us we're getting worked out of that, ready for this thing to be done, ready to move on. Thankfully things are open back up a little bit, and I think, I don't want to hit that horse too many times, when there's been lots of webinars and presentations about this. So looking at content in COVID-19, I think we can all say that COVID-19 had major impacts in our business. It changed the world. And I apologize for my dog barking in the background if anybody can hear it. I'm working from home because of the weather, and she's going nuts for some reason. Content COVID-19, what we saw through the pandemic was an insane influx and increase in content. It was videos here, seminars here, blogs left and right, update this, put this out. It was the only way that marketers and companies could communicate with clientele because nobody saw billboards anymore. Nobody saw interruption advertising. Lots of people were on Netflix and things of that nature. So you didn't have your traditional shows because shows were canceled because they couldn't get recorded, right? So you didn't have your traditional ads on TV and things of that nature. People weren't listening to radio as much because they're working from home, so they're listening to, Apple Music and stuff like that. So you saw a significant flow of blogs, ebooks, video, and newsletters. For good and for bad. If your content wasn't very good, it got ignored and you got passed. If your content was good, you probably landed some new customers and stayed engaged. You should look at the results of the things that were done through COVID-19 in relation to your content, because as things open back up, the noise will increase. Marketing budgets will increase, goals will increase, the things that people are doing to go after new clientele will continuously increase. So as that happens, you want to make sure that you're not lost in the noise. Make sure the content that you're doing is consistent, have a plan, understand how it's going to impact the people seeing it, right? If you're doing a blog, have a strategy. What topics are you going to write about? What months? Make sure that you actually understand what's taking place. Think through how you're going to connect followers to your company. Look at leveraging your products and service, right? So, we all understand sales and want to get the sale and things like that, right? So let's just put our mindset in maybe the idea of a realtor or a roofing company or something, some type of home service, right? So you get that call to come out and service, let's just say a roof, right? You got to replace the roof. So you replace that roof and you win that customer over, and then nothing. There's no more communication. There's no more follow-up. There's none of that because it's 15 years or more before they need you again unless something happens. Why wait 15 years to make contact with that customer again? You can have a very short ebook on how to maintain your roof, why it's important to have annual inspections, how pressure washing could screw a roof up, or how it can help, right? Like little things like that. So having content coming out, having ebooks or blogs or things like that to help educate your customers or even your potential customers on how to leverage your products and services better and extend the life or extend the value of them is a really good way to leverage your content. Make sure the information you're writing about actually affects the targeted audience that you're writing for, and this is more for like blogs and stuff. We've all seen it, lots of the like general newsletters, general blogs. Be specific, know who your audience is that you're writing for, make sure that the things that you're putting out there is actually useful to the audience that you're pushing it to. And then lastly, education and support. One thing that I love to follow on TikTok, the new social media platforms come out the last couple of years and obviously exploded during COVID-19, is seeing the life hacks, right? Like seeing a couple products get combined to create this cool solution that doesn't exist now. If you find out about those things, if you find out like, hey, this product can also help with this, why not educate people about that? That's great content to put in a blog article and send out to all of your customers to help them get more value out of what they already purchased. That creates recurring customers. So what you really want to be looking for in your content moving forward out of COVID-19 is just making sure that you're creating substantial value, right? Don't be boring. Don't just do the same stuff over and over. Give people a reason to pay attention to you. And that's going to come from you improving their life through what you're presenting to them. So lastly, looking at kind of wrapping up here, SEO and your marketing strategy. Here's the thing with SEO and somewhat, Google Ads, SEM. We get a lot of people that come to us and they haven't even gotten a website launched yet, may not even have an actual logo. and they want to just blow up social media because that's the thought, right? The thought is social media is free. I can go get lots of clients. I just need to start posting on there and manage that page, and the clients are just going to roll in. Folks, it doesn't happen. It's not how it works. I mean, you might get lucky. You might, if you know what you're doing on social media, absolutely, you can have success. You can get influencers to promote your product. You could potentially create some viral posts. Yes, you can find success out of social media. But the reality is most business owners don't have the time to do that. Most business owners don't have the money or the understanding of how to do that. And in reality, as the last couple of years have progressed, social media has continuously reduced the benefit of businesses being on them. Cut the reach of ads, cut the reach of posts, made it harder and harder for people to see businesses on there because there's so many of them. SEO's, at least for the foreseeable future, not going away. The downfall of things like social media and stuff is that you don't own any of that. If Facebook decides hey, we're going to shut off ads for your industry, all of your marketing strategies went away. I'm not going to say Google doesn't do that because they can also do that, but the time and efforts that you have put into SEO will not go away. You still own your website. You still own all the content on it. You still own all the results you've gotten from it. It's not just going to disappear overnight. So investing into SEO to make sure that your website ranks well will pay substantial dividends above most other forms of marketing that you're going to consider doing. It is the foundation, right? I always tell my customers, looking at your marketing is like building a house, and you've got to have a really good foundation before you start adding on walls, or it's going to fall down, especially in Charleston. So making sure your website has good content, is built to convert the people you're sending to it, right? It's one thing to, you can go dump a whole lot of money into ads on social media and Google, and if your website isn't built to convert those people into customers, you're going to waste a whole lot of money. So making sure your website is designed to convert people into customers, has good content, and is able to handle that process, that sales process, and be your salesperson is the best investment you can make in your marketing, at least at this current time and for the foreseeable future. It's one of the only things that you are able to completely retain that has long-standing benefits and impacts for your marketing. Look for opportunities. I went over briefly a little bit earlier, right? Look for opportunities to have links pointing back to your website. Look for articles. Look for things that you can do guest blogs for. If you go on the news or if you run other ads, get something back from those companies that's going to help you long term. Have them have some type of link in an article, press release, news article, newsletters, whatever that they're pushing out that actually stays on the internet, that is, that links back to your site. And then opportunities for traffic, right? Get creative. One of the things that we do with the South Carolina Stingrays as part of our sponsorship with them is we do ticket giveaways. We partner with them to give away 4-packs and stuff. And everybody that goes to enter to win for those 4-packs enters to win on our website. They fill out the form on our website to enter to win the contest. That drives several thousand of people through our website every hockey season. That for us is a substantial value because that traffic is good traffic. It registers well. They're converting. They're doing things on our website, and it's a big influx of traffic that we wouldn't get otherwise. So look for opportunities that you can pull traffic into your website that may not even be specific for your industry at that time, but ultimately kind of helps. If you're unsure about SEO, if you're unsure about content, and you know you need it and you want it to work, which really business is going to be in that perspective. There's only a couple industries that really aren't going to win the SEO game. Work with a professional. We offer free consultations, free audits. Most marketing companies do. Get with them, review what you've got, and figure out a plan to move forward. It can literally change your life. It can change your business I've seen it work personally in both of my businesses, going from a web design agency to a marketing agency and implementing the very things I'm telling you about, making sure that our SEO was good, we had Google Ads, we knew what was going on, and leveraging the tools that were there, learning them, leveraging them, and maintaining them has completely transformed our agency, our sales process, and our success over the last half of a decade. It is that important. Know your numbers, right? So whenever you start, know what your conversion rates are, what your bounce rates are, what your time on page rates are, and pay attention to them. You know, look at that, look at those reports that come in from your marketing companies every month. Are these numbers going up or down? How does that impact my business? What are we doing to continuously improve them? We're a results-focused agency, so that's all that I spend, well, that my team spends their time on, is focusing on those numbers. Are they going up or down? How much does that actually impact our clients? That's what you need to know as a business owner. And then using tools, right? There's lots of tools to help you know these things. You know, monitor your rank, monitor your traffic, monitor your competition. And then lastly, be patient, right? Like we said earlier, this stuff takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen in a week. Sometimes it'll take you months. Sometimes it could take more than months. It just depends on your industry, how competitive it is, how large of a geographic area you're going after. There's lots of factors that influence how successful you're going to be and how soon you'll reach that point. But when that point is achieved, it'll be mind-blowing, what the results you'll see. And until that point, luckily, there are things like Google Ads, pay-per-click, and other types of marketing that can generate results for you until your SEO fully kicks in. So with that, I will open it up for questions.
Okay.
Robert, excuse me, before we go to
Sure.
questions, we still have some people that have not entered their full name in the chat box, so we are unable to confirm the attendance. Michaela Johnson, if you could share with us the name of the company or who may have registered for you, as well as there's someone on with the name of Moon Goddess. If you could please share your full name so we can confirm your attendance. My apologies for the interruption. Robert, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Alan, our first question, and I think you touched on this briefly, can you talk more about link building? Does that mean have links to your site, to other content on your site, or links to other blog or resources?
Sure, yeah. So link building goes internal and external. So you need to have links on your site pointing to good quality sites that aren't yours as well. But it's more focused on having inbound links, so having other sites linking to you, and those sites being of good quality, right? So having a listing on 5 million business directories isn't going to really pay a whole lot of dividends for you. Having a link from the Charleston Regional Business Journal pointing to your website will help. You know, Post and Courier, USA Today, Forbes, Entrepreneur, UpCity, you know, sites that if you're finding their directory listing on page 1 of Google, you know, like the BBB and things like that, those are links from their site pointing to your site are going to help your site. It makes your site more authoritative to Google. It makes it more relevant and basically establishes some credibility, right? Think of it like a referral. You know, if your friend refers you into a client, you're much more likely to get that sale than somebody else. Google, you know, in Google's eyes, that link kind of creates that referral for them. And looking at making sure that you've got, ideally, if you can have your services, so that the text that's in the article or page or whatever, you know, of course, if it's your company, you want your company to be linking to your website. But, you know, if I can have that article hyperlink website design or search engine optimization and have those actual words hyperlinked to my website, that's going to help substantially because it's telling Google that that's what I'm about, right? Because it's saying, oh, okay, well, this site says that website design is important to this company, so that must be what they do. And it creates, it basically assists in telling Google who you are and what you're about.
Okay, thank you. Our next question is about blogs. I write a monthly newsletter. Any ideas how I can use this information to turn into a blog?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. Whenever you look at that, I mean, you could potentially use your newsletter as a blog, depending on what kind of content you're putting into it, right? If your newsletter is really just sales opportunities, that's not really going to help a whole lot. But if it's, you know, educational things that you're putting in your newsletter, things that are either educational to your following or, you know, support style stuff, things that are interesting, you could potentially turn some of the stuff that you're putting in your newsletter into a blog. You can find there are sites that exist that have lots of blog articles already written. You could potentially look at hiring a company to help you, you know, craft that strategy and write those blogs as well. If you look back at the social media posts that you're doing, you could potentially use some of the social media posts to start developing. The thing with the blog though, and the challenge that, or the thing that I want to make sure to kind of clarify as people start looking at blogs to get into is they'll write like 100 or 200 words or maybe even less, you know, like, hey, you know, special this weekend, you know, at Joe's restaurant, you know, we're giving 50% off, you know, fish and shrimp or whatever. And they publish that, you know, or here's our Valentine's Day special. And the blog is like 50 words or 100 words. That's not what Google's looking for. And as a matter of fact, as time progresses, that will actually hurt you. Google's looking for authoritative actual content. They're looking for actual articles. So whenever you think of an article, think of things that you're clicking on and reading, right? 500 words, 1,000 words. Think back to, you know, to college days or high school days, whenever you had to turn in that 1,000-word essay. You want it to have some meat and potatoes, some things for people to read through that have some substance to it. So just, you know, make sure you've got kind of a, you know, sit down, plan out your blog. You can write multiple at one time, right? So I think a lot of people get confused with, you know, oh man, it's going to take so much time every month to write this blog. Well, why not take a couple of days, sit down and write like a dozen of them, and then bam, now you got one a month, right? So you can do this stuff in bulk. It's not like you have to do it, you know, every single month. You got to come up with this new topic and stuff. You can do it all, you know, you could write all your content for 6 months in a couple of days and be done.
Okay, thank you. Our next question, do you have any specific advice or suggestions for service-oriented businesses or B2B?
Yeah, I mean, the process of SEO is pretty much the same regardless of who you're going after, right? It's a matter of you're trying to get your website and your content to match best to that algorithm for what people are searching for. But what I will say for B2B is SEO and pay-per-click and Google as a whole is even more important for B2B than anyone else, right? As business owners, we are constantly busy. We're constantly trying to do stuff. So, you know, consumers a lot of times will go on Facebook and look for recommendations, and they'll, you know, maybe ask some friends and stuff like that. As business owners, we're in the industry of making decisions and making them quickly. So making sure that your business is that one that's found at the top of Google whenever people are searching for your industry is exceptionally important, because that might be your only sales opportunity for that client. You need to make sure you get seen then. So, you know, the suggestion that I would make for B2B companies is, if you're not going after SEO, you need to immediately make that as part of your focus and strategy. It is a major part of your marketing strategy.
Okay, thank you. Our last question, what are the average costs associated with having a marketing company help optimize SEO an existing website?
That's a really good question, and I'm glad I got asked, because marketing companies' rates and what they do significantly varies whenever it comes to things like SEO, social media, blogs, stuff like that. And their strategies vary significantly, because again, it's not like Google publishes this big book that's like, hey, you know, follow all these tips and you're going to rank #1 on Google. They just don't do that. It's a matter of experience. It's a matter of, you know, we have dozens of sites that we have to pay attention to every single day. We're constantly watching rankings, and we're constantly looking for common denominators as to why rankings are going up or down, so that we can make changes to those websites and keep them on course. You know, for us, we've kind of perfected what we do. We've perfected our strategy. We start at $3.99 a month. I've heard of SEO rates that are anywhere from $100 a month to multiple thousands a month. It depends on the company that you're going with, how big the website is, if it's products or if it's services, how big of a geographic area you're targeting, how good is the website, right? If your content's pretty bad or the website just isn't really that great, it's going to take more time to get that site to a good foundation to then build off of. So, you know, the thing with SEO that's important for people to remember is that SEO is a time thing, right? It takes a lot of time for us to work on that site and get it to where it needs to be and then maintain it. And that's why so few people do it on their own, is because on average, we're spending anywhere from 6 to 10 hours a month usually on our SEO clients at a minimum, and that's for our smaller clients. You know, our larger clients could get over to 20, 30 hours a month, just making revisions to better tailor for how people are searching.
Okay, thank you. And one more question. A client is building a multilingual site. How does that affect SEO ratings?
It's a good question. You know, a lot of the content's going to be, I guess it depends on your building in. I mean, I would make sure that your keyword relevancy is staying the same. If you're having like multiple paragraphs of the same thing, you can actually put code into the website that tells Google that it's redundant content for a reason. You can, you know, label certain pages as cornerstone content and so on. You can also utilize the meta tags to tell Google, you know, the different languages that are there. And then of course, if you install Google Translate and have Google Translate as a readily available service, that can also help inform Google it's a multilingual site, so that you're ranking on multiple search, you know, on multiple algorithms for different languages. And so you're definitely going to do some additional research as you're developing the SEO for a multilingual site. But you know, it's not going to be crazy different from a normal site. You just want to make sure that you're able to, that you're telling Google what's duplicate and redundant and why, and how they should be properly indexing your site, right? The easier you make it for those AIs and the spider monkeys and all that stuff, the easier it is for them to do their job, the more happy they are with you and the better they're going to do for you.
Okay, thank you. And Alan, if you could unshare your screen.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. And Carolyn, did we get everyone's name?
I still have not received the information on the individual who is signed in as Moon Goddess. So whoever that may be, if you could please type your name into the chat box so we can confirm your attendance. We will be sending out the surveys to those that we can confirm their attendance. So I would hate for you to miss the survey and potentially the slides and the video. But that's the only person we've not confirmed, is someone with the name of Moon Goddess associated with their logon.
Okay, thank you. So if that person could please type their first and last name in the chat box. We'd appreciate it. Alan, thank you for your time and your expertise today. We want to respect everyone's time. We're just a few minutes over, but we thank everyone for attending. If you've got any questions about your business, please call your local SBDC and make an appointment with a business consultant. If you've got specific SEO questions, you can also reach out to Alan. But we thank you and hope you have a safe day.